This is Dr. Peter Bregan. I'm a physician and I'm a psychiatrist, and I've been doing research for more than 60 years and publishing papers for almost 60 years in medical books. This led me to have an interest in what's going on with the Wuhan virus. Today is April 16th, 2020, and in the news there's a lot of confusion. Each side, China and the US, blaming each other for something or other about the virus. In particular, China now denying that it could have unleashed the virus accidentally through its labs. Actually, we know from the scientific literature that China and the United States know a great deal more about what's going on and about the history of the particular virus that's been unleashed on us, the SARS-CoV virus. In December 2015, in Nature Medicine, a scientific article was published that examined and showed the creation artificially of a coronavirus that looks and acts very much like the current virus. It is not the current virus, but it is exactly like the current virus in many of its effects. The stunning part of the news is this virus was created in collaboration between Chinese scientists and American scientists. It was funded by the Chinese government and by the American government. In particular, the American funds came through the National Institutes of Health, including the Institute for Allergy and Infectious Diseases, which is so directly involved in everything now that's going on with our political and scientific dialogue about the virus that we are now afflicted with. So let me put this in perspective again. Published in a major British, one of the top journals, an article about a collaboration between China, scientists specifically identifying themselves as from the Wuhan Institute, working with Americans, the lead American from the University of North Carolina, and many others from the University of North Carolina, who basically had been carrying on this research until they invited the Chinese into it. There's even an FDA researcher involved. Harvard researchers are involved. This is no mystery article. I've put the article up on my website, bregan.com. I've also had my assistant do PDFs of every single article that is referenced. And I've written a blog about the implications of this. It's all up on bregan.com as of today, breggin.com. Now I want to look at some of the characteristics of this virus that was created in these studies leading up to December of 2015. It is a SARS-CoV virus. It was created by putting together two separate viruses to increase pathogenesis and specifically to increase the capacity to infect human beings. The cover story, at least, is that they wanted to see if more of these viruses that are in animals, in this case in the very bat that it was originally thought this virus came from, to see if animals could, send this virus into the human population. But they did so much more than that. They created a virus that would go into the human population. China was involved. China was doing lab research, not just some book learning, in this study. So we can later rest whether or not the Chinese could have created this kind of virus. They learned to do it, probably learned to do it, working with our researchers. The characteristics of this particular virus, all of them in the 2015 paper that you can find on my website, and much of it verified in earlier studies that you can also find on my website. First of all, it was especially pathogenic, that is, it had special abilities to infect human beings. It attacked the airways, exactly like the current coronavirus. It was resistant to treatments compared to some of the other viruses, again, like our current virus, providing a warning that if we were honest in looking at this article and talking about it already, we would have had a warning that it was relatively resistant to vaccines. I know I'm a little slow in talking here, folks. I cannot tell you the stress that I've had in thinking about this paper and how to describe it. In fact, I've had the paper for a month, wondering would it do more harm than good to release it, being uncertain to discuss it like this. But now that we have all the discussions going on in the news in the last 2 days about whether this was released from Wuhan accidentally, and everybody acting like they don't know nothing about anything like that, it just seems so important to tell everyone that our researchers and their researchers in China were working together for many years, publishing finally in December 2015 about the creation of this kind of virus, specifically this kind of virus, and even describing its qualities in advance. The virus, compared to some other SARS-type viruses, this is a SARS COVID, unlike them, it was not quite so lethal, which meant that the mice could carry this without dying. We have that now. We have a disease where people walk around looking healthy, but they're carrying it. It afflicted the elderly worse than young, markedly so, and especially elderly and mice with pre-existing conditions. If you think about it, and God knows the Chinese were thinking about it. I don't know just how dumb an American can be about the implications, what he's doing working with Chinese. But the Chinese would have known this was a perfect weapon. It's a perfect weapon. The young people carry it around, infect other people, affects the entire population, kills older people in the population, resistant to treatment, attacks the lungs, but you can't treat it very well. And in fact, another thing they found was that the disease got worse sometimes when you attempted to treat it or to vaccinate the animals. So it suggests some of the problems we may have ahead of us that need to be openly discussed. And certainly our researchers need to know about it. I have put this paper up on my website, breggin.com, B-R-E-G-G-I-N, B-R-E-G-G-I-N.com. I have put up the PDFs of all the associated articles that are in the bibliography. And I put up a more detailed and logical analysis than perhaps I'm giving you at this time. I wish I could answer questions, so I'm going to try to think of a couple of things that may be entering your minds. The time is 2015, late when this article comes out. That was during the Obama administration and probably earlier administrations. Yes, the men writing this, the men and women working on this research knew that it was potentially dangerous research that maybe shouldn't be carried out. They discuss it. I put up another article in in a journal called The Scientist that actually back in 2015 recognized these dangers. There's evidence that NIH knew that this research might have been against the regulations, too dangerous, but then it gave them a pass, a specific pass from NIH on it to continue it. So clearly the tops at NIH knew about this collaboration with the Chinese with a potential weapon, deadly weapon. Did nothing to stop it back in 2015. Is this the same virus that's afflicting us now? No, it does not seem to be. But it's extremely closely related and probably wouldn't have been too difficult to derive the current virus from it or from its predecessors. Was there evidence of involvement of the military on either side in this research? Not directly, but indirectly, yes, because the Wuhan Institute is deeply involved with the military. A military officer is currently in charge of the this viral research section. Everything the Chinese do is about power and military. And they instruct scientists. They force scientists to report back to them. You can't be an innocent Chinese researcher in China, at least. What's the worst part about all this? It's hard for me to disentangle it all. I think that the fact that previous administrations funded what is essentially weapons research, biomedical weapons research, in collaboration with China, is beyond the pale, beyond human reasoning. It can only speak to the blinders, the political blinders under which people have operated about China, about globalism. I don't know how much information some of the leaders of our country have about this. I hope that they'll be made aware of it if they're not at the present time. And I think it's important for them to know about this research so that they can go back and look at what the problems were with developing vaccines. We're going to continue. When I say we, my wife, Ginger, and I. I'll tell you briefly at the end now that my wife, Ginger, found this article. She was following scientific threads on the coronavirus research, Wuhan, and so on. And she found somebody saying, I found something I think is made up. And she tracked it through another article and found the article. I brought it to me, and no, it wasn't made up. I've provided you links not only to the PDF on my website, but also to the origins of the article to make absolutely clear where it's from. I'll be talking and writing more about this, working on it. I thank you for listening to this and for taking it very seriously. This is Peter Bregan. Bye now.